Dragon Ball, as a whole, meant a lot to me growing up, as it did for a lot of people. There was just something special to me about seeing these characters power up and fight each other. As a kid, Dragon Ball got my attention for all the reasons you'd think it would. Bright flashes, action, human-like aliens changing their hair colors, screaming, and explosions. I was a big fan of the Transformers movies in the early 2000s, so you know Michael Bay had me going nuts for explosions. Characters created by one man named Akira Toriyama would have a profound impact on not just my childhood, but on my life. My first experience with Dragon Ball was actually watching someone I met at a campground play Boo's Fury. I only knew that was the game because I had asked him and remember asking my parents for it even though I didn't have a Game Boy. At that point, I didn't even know it was a show. I thought it was just a game. And 5-year-old me in 2007 begged my parents to get me Dragon Ball Z Budokai Tenkaichi 3 for the PlayStation 2. I got it for Christmas that year, and I sucked at the game. I faintly remember the only times I played the game, I had to go into PvP and plug in 2 controllers and fight myself. I tried playing through the story a few times, and I'd get bodied by Raditz every single time. I didn't know any of the characters, and I didn't know any of the lore. I do have a long history with the games, and a lot to say about them, but that's a story for a different time. My family struggled a lot when I was growing up. We didn't have the internet. However, my grandmother, who lived around the block from us, did. I remember going over and looking up Dragon Ball Z Budokai Tenkaichi 3 videos, because I figured if I couldn't beat the game myself, I could at least watch it. I can't exactly recall the video I clicked on in the recommended section. I was 5. But my earliest video recollection is Super Saiyan 4 Goku's Kamehameha that kills Baby in GT. I don't know if that was the exact video I watched, but I watched a video that helped me realize that this was not just a game. I became obsessed, and yes, I was one of those kids that watched Goku Super Saiyan to Super Saiyan 1000 transformation videos. Outside of the basics, I still didn't really know much. I had only watched clips and only knew a few characters. My parents split up when I was 7 in 2010, just a few months before my 8th birthday. My mom, sister, and I moved to a new house. Again, we weren't super well off. We had the essentials and we could eat, so we were all set. But we didn't have the internet and we didn't have cable. But we did have locally syndicated TV. We only had like 3 channels, and one of those channels was the CW. I found out that the CW showed cartoons on Saturday mornings. And at 10 a.m. one Saturday, I saw a very familiar face. That face belonged to Goku. I remember my excitement even 14 years ago. 3 years after witnessing some random person I met at a campground play Boo's Fury, I finally came across the show. Dragon Ball Z Kai had me hooked instantaneously. I remember the first episode I watched was Goku fighting Frieza right after Goku turned Super Saiyan. I watched week after week all the way through the Cell Saga, and then Kai restarted on episode 1 because they didn't do the Buu Saga at first. It didn't take me long to get all caught up with the series. Every Saturday until we got the internet in like 2012, I spent watching Dragon Ball Z Kai from 10 to 11 a.m. My love for the series grew week after week, and I never stopped loving it. I got the games, I watched the show, and I watched the movies. But I kind of just forgot exactly how much I loved it, and I was in for a great journey rediscovering my love. The last bit of backstory I have before finally getting into the meat and potatoes of this video is that mid-June of this year, I woke up and had been saved by God. The point of this specific video is not to preach to you or give you my testimony, but I think it's important that you know that my life changed in that moment. I prayed a lot and felt like I had to stop watching shows I've watched forever like Friends and The Office, and even newer shows I started to enjoy like The Sopranos. I felt and still feel like I'm too new in my faith to really surround myself with the themes that shows like that have. Although I only made that decision recently, I started watching The Sopranos 3 weeks ago and stopped watching it 2 weeks ago. As a 22-year-old man, I found myself turning back to cartoons. Batman the Animated Series, Scooby-Doo, and you guessed it, Dragon Ball Z. I know it's an anime, but just go with it. What led me back to Dragon Ball Z was the release of the new video game Dragon Ball Sparking Zero. I played through Goku's episode battles and fell in love with the story and all the characters. I talked to my friend Cam, and we had a conversation about how this game helped remind us both how much we love Dragon Ball. So I decided to start rewatching the show. Once again, I watched Kai because I only have seasons 7 through 9 on DVD, so I had to turn to Hulu. Side note, I feel like I have to remind Cam again, PyCon is canon. He was in the Otherworld tournament. He's just not in Dragon Ball Z Kai. My goodness, while rewatching the show, I felt like a kid all over again. It was an amazing feeling, and still is. I'm currently in the Namek Saga, which is very conveniently timed for this video as that was the first arc I ever watched. To be honest, even though by this point I know the story like the back of my hand, it has been so long since I watched it in its entirety, it's almost like I'm experiencing it for the first time all over again. And as a grown-up, not only can I feel the excitement that I felt when I watched it as a kid, I can understand the show on a deeper level compared to when I was a kid. Obviously, growing up, I was able to grasp character development over time. My favorite Dragon Ball character is Vegeta, so I was able to get the gist. I plan on making a video about the Saiyan arc, so I won't spend a lot of time on Vegeta, but Vegeta came to Earth after he found out about the Dragon Balls, lost to someone he viewed as less than him, went to Namek as a bad guy, and got the pride beaten out of him by Frieza. That's not an exaggeration. Frieza beat Vegeta up so bad, Vegeta was crying to his biggest rival. He then started the transition to a prideful good guy determined to continue to improve so he can redeem the humiliation he received at the hands of the Z Fighters in the beginning of the show that caused him all of his insecurities. He also had that speech in the Buu saga, just chef's kiss. However, I can't claim that Vegeta has the best character development as a whole, nor is it the one that I relate to the most. I think those titles belong to two other characters. I think the best piece of character development in Dragon Ball is that of Piccolo's. At the beginning of Dragon Ball Z, Piccolo's not a good guy. His ultimate goal is to defeat and kill Goku at all costs to get revenge for what happened at the 23rd World Martial Arts Tournament. That and world domination. However, a Saiyan named Raditz shows up on Earth and threatens that plan. Piccolo realizes he's outmatched and proposes an alliance to Goku to defeat Raditz. Piccolo and Goku proceed to avenge the many losses I received at the hands of Raditz back when I first started playing Dragon Ball Z Budokai Tenkaichi 3. Raditz and Goku are killed by the Special Beam Cannon. After learning in 1 year's time, two more Saiyans way stronger than Raditz will be coming to Earth, Piccolo kidnaps the previously kidnapped Gohan to train and protect the very planet Piccolo wishes to control. This is where the wheels of character development start to turn. And yes, this will circle back to my main point of the video. Piccolo shows no remorse in training Gohan. He does provide him with clothes, a sword, and even apples at the beginning of Gohan's training, but then he leaves him to survive on his own for 6 months. Piccolo feels like before the training can truly begin, Gohan has to prove his desire to survive. When the 6 months are up, Gohan's actually happy to no longer be alone, even if it means Piccolo's beating him up until he can get stronger, faster, and better. Gohan says something that plants the seeds of change to Piccolo, in my opinion. He says, "You don't have to fight my dad. There's no need to now, because I can tell that you've changed, and you're not such a nasty person anymore. You're like one of the family now. Yeah, you're kind of like my big green uncle." Piccolo, despite everything he has done to Goku, and the attempted world domination, and even kidnapping Gohan, is looked at as a person. His past actions do not define how Gohan feels about Piccolo. Gohan looks at Piccolo as more than some guy who killed his father and wants to destroy the world. Despite how tough Piccolo is on Gohan, Gohan sees Piccolo as his friend, and Gohan harbors a lot of love for Piccolo. During the fight against Nappa, Piccolo and Krillin launch an attack, and Gohan can't bring himself to do anything to Nappa when a window opens. Piccolo yells at Gohan, pleading with him to do something, anything to help the situation. Gohan can't bring himself to do it. Gohan is useless in this particular situation. Despite this, Piccolo still jumps in front of Nappa's blast to protect Gohan. He calls Gohan his friend and tells him to run away from the Saiyans. That's just a quick version of Piccolo's character development during the Saiyan arc, and I believe the character of Piccolo deserves a closer look. However, now that the best development, in my opinion, is out of the way, I can talk to you guys about the true subject of this video, the complexity of my perspective with Dragon Ball. The most relatable character development in this series belongs to Piccolo's pupil, Gohan. To clarify, I know the title of this video is The Complexity of Dragon Ball Z. But the point of this video is actually the personal complex perspective given to me by this show. That's just not a catchy title. What is this perspective, you may be asking? Well, humble listener, here's your answer. I am a lot like Gohan. Of course, I'm not as capable as he is physically. I'm just a regular guy, and despite how much I tried growing up, I can't go Super Saiyan, and I definitely can't launch a Kamehameha. But I see a lot of myself in the character development of Gohan. And I don't mean the weak, useless kid growing up to be the strongest in the universe after defeating Cell, then not training for 7 years, attending school, finding the love of his life, and becoming a very capable man. At the basis, I'm not even talking about a weak kid growing up to be a great dad, husband, and person. I feel like my similarities with Gohan go a lot deeper than that. I think about the Saiyan arc. Despite growing in strength and confidence over the year prior to the Saiyan's arrival, in the heat of the moment, Gohan is a useless kid, unable to overcome his own fears, anxieties, and self-doubt. I recently underwent an event in my life that changed my entire viewpoint. I was depressed, angry, anxious, and I was throwing up every morning, not because I was sick, but because when I woke up, my stomach felt as though it had been flipped upside down. I didn't want to get out of bed. I was weak. And despite all of my life being around a good support system, and all of my life growing up to be a better person than I was the day before, like Gohan, when things around me got hard, I was nothing but a frightened, useless little child, unable to defeat the crippling fear and self-doubt that I allowed to creep into my mind. I couldn't save myself. I was like a deer in headlights. I was frozen in fear, unable to move away from the place, the things, and the thoughts that were making me feel the way I felt. Despite Gohan's continued growth throughout the series, he felt just as weak and useless in the Cell Saga that he felt when he was facing the Saiyans. I think of the scene where Cell has Gohan by the head and is just pummeling him, and I can relate that to myself. I am Gohan, and Cell is life, depression, anxiety, insecurities, self-doubt, and fear. I was hopeless in these times, and I couldn't make a move to defend myself from everything I was facing. Android 16's speech to Gohan is very similar to the talk I had with myself before everything changed. Not everyone can be reasoned with. Cell could not be reasoned with. Gohan needed to defeat Cell. It was the only way to protect the people he loved. Whereas I knew I was ultimately hurting myself, and I tried pushing through and living with it. But feelings that severe can't be lived with. The only way to save myself was to defeat that version of myself. Gohan snapped and transformed into a Super Saiyan 2 and destroyed all of those thoughts that made him feel useless. I snapped and transformed into a new person. I started working out, eating right, going to the church, and a few other things that aided the destruction of the feelings I felt as well. In times of peace, Gohan would chase his dreams of becoming a scholar and focus on being a good boyfriend and eventual husband to his wife and a good father to his child. In times of peace, I will chase my dream of being a pastor and eventually focus on being a good husband and father when the time comes for that as well. But I'm in no rush. I see the path that I'm on similar to when Gohan took Nimbus to school in the Buu Saga. Calm, peaceful, enjoying life and the opportunities that come to pass each day that I'm given to live on this planet. I challenge you all to do what you must do to defeat the negative thoughts in your head, whether that's talking to friends, family, or a professional, staying busy, or like me, making a change spiritually. Whatever it takes. I challenge you to defeat the past version of yourselves and the self-doubts in your head. Chase your dreams. Chase both peace of mind and peace of the world around you. Chase happiness and joy, because there's so much more to life than the thoughts holding you back. To be brutally honest, maybe we could all stand to be a little bit more like Gohan. So, unlike the rest of this video, I don't actually have a script for this portion. I kind of just wanted to come on here and talk to you guys. From the bottom of my heart, thank you guys for watching this video. If you've made it this far, I appreciate it. This is by far the most ambitious project I've ever made, probably ever, but definitely for YouTube. It's so different than anything I've ever done before. So if you guys watched it and you enjoyed, please like, comment, and subscribe. If you guys have any tips or pointers or any ideas, please comment and let me know. I definitely hope to make more videos like this in the future. So I really hope you guys enjoyed, and I will see you in the next one.